Okay, Adam. I just want to show you a couple of things. First off, look, I don't want you to think that I'm trying to change you, but you're a student of the game, so this is some stuff you need to be aware of. I would be shocked if you haven't heard this before from your guys. What I'm going to do is I tried to find somebody as close as I could to a one planer, if you want to call it that. I just like to call it on plane. You either swing it on or you're off. Um, so typically, what we look at in the case of a lefty is that arm angle at the top, and if it's at the shoulders or below, it's one plane. If it's a little above, it's kind of whatever, and if it's kind of steep, then it's two plane. Again, it's just all fluff, if you ask me. Giving things a name, and then you get to own it and call it your method. And it's not a knock on the Hardy guys or anything like that. Okay, so setup obviously, you know, real strong. Sometimes you get out a little bit on your toes. I would just try to think about staying front to back as level as you can, balanced as you can. Um, First thing, I'm gonna just take Charlie back to P2, and P2 is when the shaft's parallel to the ground. All right, and then we'll take a look at yours. There's three things that the power package is the shoulders, the arms, and the hands. All right, there are three things that the power package do to move the club. You have the shoulder turn, you have an internal rotation of the right arm, and you have a vertical wrist cock of the right wrist. And this is all, I'll mess up sometimes and talk like I'm teaching a righty, but this is all in lefty terms. So look at that big gap first of all, and that's definitely not a one plane foundation. Okay, they want those arms across the chest. And what's happening is you're getting entirely too much right arm internal rotation. Probably could stand a little earlier wrist cock. What happens is this sets you up to lay the club off to begin with, and you're just from this point on, it's just one series of compensations, one right after the other. Um, if you look at, there's no gap in Charlie's right arm and his chest. I mean, it goes. It's amazing how stack and tilt, and Charlie's probably the poster boy for stack and tilt, if you ask me. Um, but again, you can call it what you want to, but if you look right here, Charlie's club face matches his spine angle. All right, I can even see your club head. So, and this too is one thing that you can fix in your waggle. If you would just waggle back to a good P2 before you pull the trigger, you don't even need golf balls to fix this. I don't want you thinking, if you were my student, I wouldn't want you thinking about taking the club through any positions, because the golf swing is a motion. It's not a series of positions that you're trying to pass through. However, that's a pretty important one right there, because when you have it that underneath underplane from the get go, it makes your P3, which is an important position, right? And that's when the right arm's parallel to the ground. Now, I typically like to see the shaft parallel right there, but it really doesn't matter. If it's a little steeper than parallel, that's fine, but you never want that thing to be laid off. Now, what happens here is you probably get to a good position, but you got to do a lot of arm raising to do it. You have to kind of stop your shoulder turn and raise those arms. Well, where's the club going to be? Laid off, just like it is. Now, if you look at you and Charlie, you're pretty close in position, but look how much rotation you have with the back of your right wrist. It's pointing to the sky. If you look at the back of your right wrist, it's pointing. Heck, it's not even pointing to the sky. It's pointing in front of you almost. You want your club face and your right hand to pretty much be the same. Okay, because that's what you're doing. You're squaring the back of your right hand up at impact. All right. So we'll just take it on, and then we'll go to your top. You got a good top. I don't care if you go past parallel. That doesn't mean diddly squat. You got a nice flat right wrist. It's actually even got just a touch of a bow in it, which is highly desirable. or cup, excuse me. You look at Charlie, his is really flat. The most important thing at the top is that your club face and your lead arm are pretty close. Look at all of Charlie's lines. Look how they're all parallel to each other. They're either parallel or perpendicular. And when you're doing that, you're way ahead of the game. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change colors for contrast so you can see. But I'm going to take a blue line and I'm going to draw that down to where intersects the hosel. And some people call this the slot. McLean calls it the corridor of success or whatever. But you want those hands in the shaft to get right down into that slot and stay there as long as you can. Most of the better players might get a little bit under it. Very seldom do they get over it. A couple of them, but essentially those hands drop right down into that, and then they just keep turning and turning. Okay, so we can see right here, and this was kind of the theme with you, and I'll tell you why this is important. See how you're working over the plane? That's because you're out of sequence. And big, strong, athletic guys will tend to do that sometimes when they're trying to hit the ball hard. It's cold, and so I'm going to take all of this with a grain of salt, but that's still something that you've grooved right there, okay? And then, see, you're above plane, you do a good job of saving it, okay? But what happens is you're wiping it. You're not hitting the ball solid. That's why you got so much spin on it, okay? There's no way for you to swing level or up from there. No way. And you're athletic enough. We got, in my opinion, if you're not swinging 2 or 3 degrees up with your driver, then you're swinging down. 0 in my world is down. Sure, if you can hit it straight from there, but it's not going to go anywhere. And it's a shame for a guy who's 110 plus, 115, whatever you are, to not hit it any further than you do. And I know you will, but I'm just trying to show you some things to maximize that, and it's going to help you hit it straighter too. So when we talk about sequencing, we're talking about starting with the lower body, then the T-spine or torso, then the arm, then the last thing to go is the club. Okay, so what's happening here, you can see your upper body works just slightly before the lower body starts, and there's no way to recover from that consistently. All right, now here's the other piece, and I'm going to clean some of these lines up. Okay, so I'm just going to draw that slot line back down. Do the same with Charlie. I want to talk about the legs just a little bit. Now, let's watch Charlie's leg action here. Watch his left knee. See how his left knee goes toward his right knee? And his heel comes off the ground, but it's really more rolling down. See how it rolls down? His inside of his left heel rolls down. He probably has a little more left foot action than most of the stack and tilt guys. But what's undeniable is how his left knee goes toward his right knee or toward the target. So if we put a line right at his knees at the top of his swing, his left knee would never touch that line. Okay? Alright, now let's take a look at yours. Watch your left knee. See how it gets out to that line? And I'm going to stop both of you guys at about the same spot. Look at you're up on your toe, and look how much angle your left leg has right there. And look how straight Charlie's trailing leg is. What you're trying to do, you're not using ground pressure. You're fighting ground pressure. You literally want to push off the ground and push up. And that's the tucking the hips part that I think is the key part of stack and tilt, which everybody does. You go back to all the great champions, and every one of them had that one thing in common. Here's another part. Look at this. See the space we see between Charlie's arms? And look, we can't see yours. Well, that's because you're over the top of it. His upper body is in sync. and your arms have raced out. Look at your elbow. You've already run out of left arm. All right, he's still got his left elbow. Look at this angle right here of his left elbow, and then take a look at yours. Okay, you've already stressed. You hear them if you read the internet forums a lot. They talk about running out of right arm for a righty. Well, you've got that's part of the lag and all that stuff. That right arm straightens out. Or excuse me, the left arm for a lefty straightens out, but not until after you hit it. And yours is dangerously close to straightening out before you get the ball. But the bigger issue is what you're doing is called early extension or humping of the shaft. And it's the TPI guys would tell you that it's and it is for a lot of people a physical causation. You know, they try to tell you, oh, you're just not strong in your core. I don't buy that for everybody, especially for you. Now I know you've had some back issues, but I've had 2 back surgeries, and I don't hump the shaft. Now I used to before I was aware of it, and still do a little bit. But you want to feel like your left ankle is rolling down and toward the target, and that way to make your knee. You want to kiss your left knee to kiss your right knee. And it's all a sequencing thing. It's because you didn't start the swing with your lower body. I'm going to send you I tell you what, if you go to my website and go down to favorites, and one of the first videos on there, it's called Hip Action. Watch that video. It's really good. It's done by a Canadian guy. I don't know what his name is. Works with that Sean Clements guy a little bit. But he's got one of the best descriptions of how the hips should work in the swing of anybody I've ever seen. So, when you swing on the plane, you see how your upper body kind of chases? See right there? And then you never really get to your right side. You just never really clear it. Okay? Now, obviously, that wasn't one of your better swings, but that's what I wanted. I didn't want a good swing, one that you nutted it down the middle. But you know, here's the deal: your good swing and the result. Let's say you busted one 280 down the middle, and you cold topped one almost like you did on that. Swings look, you can't hardly tell them apart. So, exit points or how the club works around in front of the body. Now watch. Let me clear some of these lines off again. Watch. Watch Charlie's left leg. See how his left leg is straightening? And he's pushing those hips forward. Okay? You don't have to have a reverse C to do what the good players do.